All right, NXT. Let's talk about it. NXT, boy, oh boy. Deadline. Let me tell you, I actually am I'm very low on this show, to be quite honest. The Iron Survivor match is really delivered. Everything else, however, not so much. Not so much on especially two of the other matches that were on the show. Not so much, man. We're going to talk about this thing, though, because I do love me some NXT, and I realized that I was set up to fail. I am very disappointed in myself for ever thinking that Triple H was going to do the right thing. So, but it may turn out to be pretty solid. We'll get to it. All right, so the Boeing Center at Techport, San Antonio, Texas. Allegedly, according to WrestleTix, they did 1,952 tickets, which was about a sellout of the venue, which was they set it up for 1,978. So they did pretty good. I said it was going to be about 1,500 to 2,000, somewhere between there, and they got around 2,000 people, over 1,500. So it worked out. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. We start with the main event, which was on first. Femi defeats Ricky Starks to win the NXT Championship. Pretty straightforward match, to be quite honest. It lacked a second gear. I think there was never really a sense of hesitation, a sense of urgency. What I was looking for in this match, it wasn't a bad match, but it felt like something it didn't feel like pay-per-view worthy match. It felt like something from TV. Okay. Now, Ricky Starks losing. He's going back to Starks because he lost. Was a very weird decision, obviously. The winner of this match was going to face Cody Rhodes at Saturday Night's Main Event, and I think most of us assumed that Ricky Starks was going to get his big moment against Cody at Saturday Night's Main Event, and it was going to be fine. It was going to take a big old fat juicy L on the NXT Championship, but ultimately, in the long and short of it, it would be fine. Ricky Starks is going to be on that main roster eventually. Instead, they decided to switch the title to Femi so that Femi can lose to Cody Rhodes. Now, Mongo, it's possible that Femi can win. He could probably beat Cody Rhodes. That ain't happening. At most, we get a double count out or a double disqualification or something. At most, Drew McIntyre or somebody like that pops up and causes a problem. That's our only hope. This is a mistake. It is a mistake to debut Femi as the champion in a match against Cody Rhodes. It's stupid. And people thought this was... Remember, he's not going to win this match. All right? And if by some miracle he does win, then why is he on NXT? I don't know, man. Look, this is very bizarre. It's very bizarre. I've never been so upset one of my favorite wrestlers won a match. That's how bad this booking has been. That's the kind of dread I'm living under with Femi wrestling Cody Rhodes. That's how your next main event. But at least they're featuring the young guy. So Femi wins. It's a good decision because I like Femi. But interesting decision to have Ricky lose here. Obviously, they played into it later with Ricky being very disappointed in himself, being very upset. I wonder what this means for Ricky, though. Considering... now, I did see... And I wish sometimes I take in too much information. I did see somebody, I forget who it was, who say that the guy who jumped into the cage at Survivor Series could be Ricky Starks. He could be the guy who jumped in the ring and attacked CM Punk. It could be Ricky Starks. And you know what? I did not think about that. And you know what? I actually like that. It could be Ricky Starks. And I think the guy who jumped in the ring was bigger than Ricky Starks is. But if that's Ricky Stark's debut onto the main roster as a Paul Heyman guy hanging out with Division, it's a pretty high spot. It's a pretty good spot. I mean, yeah, I like it. Will they do that? Probably not. Probably not. But I don't think Ricky was only been champion for 60 days, which is kind of crazy to be honest. But he was North American champion for a short amount of time too. They don't seem to be that interested in keeping the belt on Ricky for the long term, which means there probably is plans to pull him out of NXT. There was some whispers that there's going to be a bunch of call-ups, and that just ended up being the NXT versus WWE Saturday Night's Main Event element. I don't know if this means any permanent call-ups for people, but Ricky Starks could be one of those people that they just don't want sitting around in NXT. I look at his skill set and I say he hasn't exactly been setting the world on fire in terms of matches, but he has been having really good promos. He has really good character because he hasn't really changed anything from when he was on the Independents and when he was in AEW. He's just basically doing the same thing in front of a smaller audience. I believe that Ricky Starks can make it in WWE. As far as I'm concerned, I'm looking at Ricky Starks and saying to myself, this is a smaller, browner, more beige LA Knight. That's what we're looking at here. I think we're looking at a guy who's incredibly charismatic, who could probably have B- matches. They're not going to suck, but they're not going to blow the roof off the building either. But he has so much charisma and so much personality that you could put him anywhere, babyface or heel, on the roster, and he'll get over. Now, I could see that they may want to keep him in NXT a little bit longer. If they do choose to go that route, he would have to turn heel. And I think the seeds for that were planted in his conversation with Javon Evans, where Javon Evans was giving him the pep talk after he lost. I could see them trying to use that, and in 2026 they say, okay, we're going to keep Ricky in NXT, but he's going to run it as a heel. To be quite honest, looking at his age, they probably need to yank him out of NXT as soon as possible, and try to mix him in with some of these main roster guys. That would be me, though. I would probably not have a bunch of fat 40-year-old guys on the main roster when you got a 30. This guy's already over 35, and he's in shape. So what do we need all of these dudes running around with gray beards and shit for? I mean, we don't need none of those guys, especially if they're not adding anything to the product. You could easily slip Ricky Starks into one of these United States Championship Open challenges or something like that, and he could do just. He'd be a great opponent for Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio needs opponents. That would be great. If you wanted to use him for the tag team division, I'm sure there's somebody you could team him up with, maybe a Carmelo Hayes or something like that, and they could really do some real damage as a tag team. I like it. There's a lot of different things you could do, and that's why I'm not upset about Ricky Starks, because a guy like him can lose. He doesn't lose any aura, and he doesn't lose anything because he's already a smaller guy. So it's believable that he will be beaten. So I'm not that upset about him. Femi needs protection, however, because big guys could either be Batista, Sid, Lex Luger, or they could end up, like fucking A1 from TNA. You remember A1? The big muscular dude from Team Canada who lost all the time. What was that other one? He's another one that was from TNA that lost all the time, that was big and muscular. Rob Terry. Like when you see big jack dudes and they lose all the time, they cease being interesting. He could be like David Otunga. Lord knows David Otunga is suffering right now. He's suffering in his own skin. I feel bad for him. But the NXT Championship match was solid. I would not say it was good or great. I think it was on par with their previous match, which was also just a good, solid match. Nothing to write home about. Women's Iron Survivor Challenge is won by Kendall Gray. Holy hell. The Kendall Gray push is real. The Kendall Gray push is unlike anything I've ever seen. She is technically still on Evolve. All right. Not only is she an Iron Survivor winner, but she's been wrestling regularly on NXT now. Like, she is getting all the opportunities. This is great because Kendall Gray is truly a phenomenon. She is next level in terms of talent. They're going to have a hell of a time getting that belt off of her because she really doesn't need it at this point. It's kind of holding her back. But having her wrestle on NXT, she's getting a championship match against JC Jane, which she's probably going to win, if we're being honest. I'm thinking she's going to win the goddamn thing. I'm very impressed that they decided to go with Kendall Gray to this degree, especially when it made more sense for it to be Sol Ruka. It seemed like the storyline was set up for Sol Ruka. They had Sol Ruka talking on the phone to Zarya earlier in the day. They are apologizing to each other, and Zarya didn't come to town because she didn't think that Sol Ruka would wanted her there. Sol Ruka came into the match. I don't remember what number she came in, but she got taken out immediately by Kalani Jordan. Got her knees ran into the steel steps, and they walked her out. She turned around and came back, hit 2 soul snatchers at the same time, got 2 points immediately. Which I was like, man, they just cheat coding the hell out of Sol Ruka. But that was the only 2 points she got the whole match. So ended up being fine. She ended up another soul snatcher off the steps onto the floor, where she got a holy shit chant. It was a pretty good match, and these Iron Survivor matches are really good down the stretch. That's really when they get good. In the last minute or so. That's when they really kick into high gear, and they started doing amazing things. But the finish to this match was tremendous. It was coming down to the last 30 seconds. There was like a 2 to 3 way tie. And then Kendall Gray leaped off the top rope to hit a flatliner onto Jordan Grace, believe it or not, and pinned her to win the match. So Jordan Grace was the one who took the loss. Very interesting that they chose Jordan Grace of all people to be the one to take the pin here and lose the match. But they continuing the Jordan Grace, Kalani Jordan story. Lola Vice is continuing to shake that thing in obscurity. But she's doing her work, and she's doing really good work in AAA. So, not a problem there, I guess. I guess they figure she's not ready yet. But she's doing a good job in AAA. So, Lola Vice isn't really harmed a lot by not winning, except for the fact that they keep getting her to this point and then, yanking the rug from underneath her. But that's happening a lot to Jordan Grace as well. But Kendall Gray winning, I have no complaints. I absolutely love Kendall Gray. I think she's tremendous. Her winning is not the wrong thing to do. Let's say that. Next, I hate Mr. Iguana. I really do. Mr. Iguana versus Ethan Page. This match was too silly. It was entirely too silly. Mr. Iguana, Iggy, as Booker T calls him. Booker T was calling him Iggy. Mr. Iguana is another Orange Cassidy, where he plays the gimmick, and the gimmick is a distraction from how good he actually is. Obviously he was able to do all the luchador spots, the around the world thing, and he did a top rope Hurricane Rana, and then he did a over the top rope Tope Con Hilo. He was just doing a lot of stuff, and I was like, yeah, this guy would be great if it wasn't for the fact that he was obsessed with this iguana puppet, and he was doing the dead mouse thing. He just kept doing it. I was like, oh, I don't know, man. I'm starting to hate him, to be quite honest. I thought there was some charm to Mr. Iguana when you put him to the side and he's like a side gimmick. There's some charm there. When you put him in a long featured match, which this match was probably too long for Mr. Iguana to be in, then it kind of grates on you, So I'm not a big fan of Iggy. Not huge fan of Iggy. Entertaining man, very much so. Very entertained by him. kind of want to see him go back and do silly mixed tag stuff and not challenge for real titles. I really don't need to see that. Ethan Page winning was a foregone conclusion. We knew they weren't going to put the belt on Mr. Iguana. But they don't have anybody for him to feud with. So he's also in dire straits. But he's also been working in AAA, and him and Chelsea Green have been doing a great job as the mixed tag team champion. So he'll be fine. We just need to do something with his singles belt. I hated Izzy Dane versus Tatum Paxley. Hated that match too. Why? Too many theatrics. We were told that Paxley was going to make Izzy Dane suffer. What we got was them hugging in the ring with Paxley hesitating to do anything to Izzy Dane. Izzy Dane faking that she was afraid. Tatum Paxley being conflicted. This happened more than once. It happened 3 or 4 times in this match, where Izzy Dane would take advantage of Tatum Paxley being conflicted. What is she conflicted about? She's already been betrayed by Izzy Dane. This was weeks ago. Why is she conflicted about somebody who hates her guts? Somebody who kicked her in the mouth and all this sort of stuff. Why is she conflicted? Even if you want to say, well, she's a dark and very sentimental character, Mongo. You need to have a heart. What was you like when you had a lost a friend? Get out of here with this. This was, look, Izzy Dane needed to win this match. That was the right decision. I said that. All right, Izzy Dane winning was the right move. I figured you do some shenanigans with Shawn Spears to cause Izzy Dane to win the match, and you double back and you do some other things. I called that too. I mean, that makes sense. But to have Izzy Dane had Tatum Paxley, who was finally starting to shake off this hypnotism that she had for Izzy Dane, and she was kicking Izzy Dane's ass, and she even hesitated to do the big finishing move on the announce desk. They were outside the ring for 5 fucking minutes while she tried to figure out whether she was going to do this or not. And Izzy Dane, no, please don't. And then she did it anyway. She throws Izzy in the ring. And while she's still outside the ring, she was still outside the ring all of this time. Shawn Spears shows up with some dolls. She gives Paxley the dolls. Paxley is now haunted and consumed with these dolls. She's holding the dolls. She's still outside the ring. The referee's not counting. She's just letting her be outside the ring. She's got these dolls now. It took, 60 seconds, 65 seconds. Then she slaps Shawn Spears, which is not enough. She should have kicked him into the sun. And then she rolls in the ring, gets kicked in the face by Izzy Dane, and they do the double choke slam spot, and Izzy Dane wins. Izzy Dane winning is the only part of this that I agreed with. The way this match was laid out was pathetic. It didn't really do Izzy Dane any favors. It certainly didn't do any favors to Tatum Paxley. This is not the time to do the theatrics. You should have done the theatrics in the build-up, where she would have been conflicted before she started talking about making Izzy Dane suffer. That's when you should have done the conflict. You don't do the conflict during the match. The match, once the bell rings, we already know what it is. Izzy has already cut the promo. We know what it is. You can't go back on this stuff now. Now you got to go forward. If this match was Tatum Paxley being full of piss and vinegar, beating the hell out of Izzy Dane, but outside interference kept saving her from losing, she's being yanked out of the ring. Shawn Spears is jumping in the way, and the big guy is in the way. And then eventually the referee throws the both of them out, and then Izzy Dane, takes advantage of something cheap. She eye gouges or puts a finger on her throat or brass knuckles or something, and she wins the match. That's how you do this. That's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting them to be hugging in the ring and then hugging outside. I hate this match. Fuck this match. Jesus Christ. The men's Iron Survivor Challenge was won by Javon Evans, which was also a surprise because I didn't know how many times they planned to run back Javon Evans versus Oba Femi. They even did a segment with Deion Lennox to hype him up as Oba Femi walked up to him with the belt and said, "I did my part, big dog. Where you at?" Now, I'm going to say this. Deion Lennox showed me a lot in this match. I don't like Dark State. I don't. They suck. But Deion Lennox showed a whole lot of intensity. He showed some agility. I like Deion Lennox. I have to say I like him. This was good. His performance here was very good. If he can keep that energy, then when a guy like Trick Williams leaves, he can fill that spot. I want him away from Dark State, though. Look, the individual pieces of Dark State might be fine, but that collection, that collective, it sucks. I want it gone. Just, I don't care what you do with it. Wouldn't it be nice if we just woke up one day and it wasn't there anymore? I would be so happy if I just woke up and found out that Dark State didn't exist anymore. Anyway, Miles Bourne, he's not only deaf, but he's also quite dumb. He has the opportunity to pick any number, and he chooses 3. He chooses number 3. Mongo is strategic. He doesn't want to come in late because then he might not get enough points. And if he come in too early, then he could burn himself out. Didn't you hear the promo? I heard the promo. You pick number 4 then. You don't pick number 3. And you still should come in last because it's the smartest thing to do. It's to come in last. The match is not going to be over. All right? You never know. Somebody might set somebody on fire. Somebody might get hurt. You have a better chance at 5 than you do at 3, for Christ's sake. This match was fun, especially in the final stretches. You got to start, you got Javon Evans and Leon Slater basically teasing each other with how similar they are in offense and different things like that. Very, very fast paced. Later in the match, much later in the match, Javon Evans does a coast to coast swanton. I have no idea what he was going for. I think it was supposed to be a drop kick, but this is definitely one of those things that you just do at home with your friends, and it really doesn't serve much purpose. This guy did a coast to coast swanton, landed on his back, hit nothing. He didn't hit anything. If it was supposed to be a kick, I don't even think his legs hit the guy. I don't know what it was supposed to be or what the purpose of it was. But he did that. Okay, fine. Deion Lennox ended up attacking Javon Evans and then locked him in the cell, even though he hadn't gotten pinned. So Javon Evans climbed out of the penalty box and jumped onto Deion Lennox, which I thought was great. The last 2 minutes was Deion Lennox and Leon Slater jumping all over the place. I mean, it was just all over the world, dog. They was running in circles around these guys, man. And then, during the last 30 seconds, Miles Bourne stumbled into a small package by Javon Evans. Javon Evans won the match. Holy hell, Javon Evans is the Iron Survivor champion. Will wrestle Oba Femi on January 6th at New Year's Evil. I definitely think Javon Evans is going to win the title now. Yes, that's a short run for Oba Femi, but I think in story, it makes sense for Javon Evans, who has tried and failed to beat Oba Femi several times, that since Oba Femi is his Brock Lesnar, he needs to overcome that. And it still might be the end of the road for Oba Femi. This is an unnecessary title run that just padded his stats. I definitely think he's going to carry the belt into New Year's Evil, lose it to Javon Evans, and then we'll probably get a heel turn from Ricky Starks. That's probably how I would do it. That's how I would do it. But Javon Evans absolutely has to win the title. Absolutely has to win the title. He's broken if he doesn't. He made a promise that he was going to win the belt. Even if they want to do something slick like have Ricky try to cost him the title, don't play those games. Just let the young guy win the belt and do it in a way that doesn't bury Oba Femi, you know. But it's time for Javon Evans to be the guy. He's more comfortable speaking now. Very early in his NXT run, his promos were extremely bad because he hadn't really found his footing. But now they just let him talk the way he talks. Him and Leon Slater, they just let them talk the way that they talk, and it works out fine for them. So, Javon Evans, champion, right move. Then they decided to play a little bit of who dat, where they had Tony D'Angelo return, and he attacked Javon Evans. So it looks like they're gonna drop the Don character, and they're gonna go in a different direction with Tony D'Angelo. He looks to be a lot more serious, and this also bodes that people are leaving because they're bringing Tony D'Angelo back. I hope he comes back as the Don so that Vito could complain. I want him to cry. He's like 54 years old or something like that. I want his tears in a bottle. All right, that's what I want. I want him to come back as the Don so that Vito could complain and cry and talk about how this young man is killing his gimmick. That's what I want. But I like Tony D'Angelo. I'm a Tony D'Angelo truther, so I like this. I'm not sure what we do with him right now. We got time to explain where he's been, what different takes we're going to do with his character. The D'Angelo family is over. Stax is pretty much working in TNA now. He barely does anything on NXT. So I'm interested in seeing what we do with Tony D'Angelo. All right. Other pieces of business for NXT. Shiloh Hill is talking to computers, apparently. I don't know if it was the CIA or the FBI or ICE or somebody is listening to Shiloh Hill talk in this room. I'm not even going to pretend that I care, bro. I don't give a shit. Just get to the point. This guy has been boring every time he's come out there. And now they're like, he's locked in Area 51 or something. I don't know, man. Just get to the fucking point. What is the guy's character? He's a conspiracy theorist or something? Is he on a watch list? He's a terrorist? Let's do something. This is one time, this is a very rare. I think this guy, I think Stevie Turner, I think these are two people, both, and Simon Crow, who was that? Sammy Callahan. These were three, and also I kind of guess, also Mustafa Ali. It's like all these computer-based gimmicks where guys are talking to computers or they're around computers or whatever. These things never get over in the vignettes. They have tried this multiple times. They've tried people being from the future. They've tried people being hackers. They've tried all this stuff. It never works. Just no computer-based gimmicks. I've never seen anybody with a decent computer-based gimmick. The computerized man of the 90s failed. None of this stuff works. Alright, just get the fuck away from computers. Unless you're going to do a RoboCop gimmick or something like that, where you're going to be hooked up to machines or something like that, I don't want nothing to do with computers. You want to do $1 Million Man gimmick? And I mean like Steve Austin $1 Million Man. I'm talking the old 60s TV show. You could do something like that and it might work. But from now on, anybody who's online chatting or whatever, this is not going to work. These computer-based gimmicks are shit. Mariah May, she's backstage and she wants to do open challenges for her women's North American Championship. She called herself more beloved than Sami Zayn and more intense than Ilya Dragunov. So this is why she wants to do this, but Ava, for some reason, wants to talk her out of it. Doesn't think she really wants to do it. I see what Brian Alvarez is right. Ava is the shits. Okay? But the reason why Ava doesn't believe in this is because she thinks that the only reason that Mariah May is the champion is because of Zarya throwing in the towel. And she's like, anybody can answer the open challenge. And Mariah May's like, so what? I don't care. So they're trying to do something with her. But it seems like they're just leaning on the open challenge as we don't know what to do anymore. It's like they're using it kind of like tournaments. We don't know what to do anymore. Do an open challenge. We don't know what to do anymore. Do a tournament. It's lazy. Too many people don't need to be doing the same thing. Mariah May's character also, should be against open challenges. She should not be trying to fight anybody. But I guess they figured they got to do something. They got the girl on the roster, and now she's got a title. They got to do something, right? So her open challenge actually begins on Tuesday. I look forward to it being Zarya or somebody like that she can beat, and it's not going to be a big deal. But eventually it's going to lead to something, right? It's got to. But Mariah May is great. This show was not great, however. It's a 50% show. 50% is a D. All right, I hated both of the singles matches that were not championship matches, but I liked both of the Iron Survivor matches. And I liked Oba and Ricky, but not as much as I thought I would. So, of the matches, the Iron Survivor men's match, both Iron Survivor matches were probably really good, especially in the final stretch. But the men's match, I'll give that an edge in order to be in the match of the night. But Izzy Dane versus Tatum Paxley, if I never see that match again, I wouldn't be upset. Same thing for Iggy versus Ethan Page. I don't need to see that match again either. But what did you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Be blessed.